Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Pitter Patter Pop. Today we are here with the new Score Attack. I can't keep a straight face while trying to do that joke. Uh, I'm not here to review a new Score Attack. I'm here to say hello to you all, because I'm back. Kinda. I know I've not uploaded on this channel for quite a while now, but I'm here to inform you that I am uploading on a different channel. It's called Fixed Perspective. I run it with one of my buddies, Kate. We run a podcast on it together talking about horror games, and I just wanted to talk about it here because maybe some of you guys out there still would watch content from me and you don't know that I'm actually still making content, just not on this channel anymore. So, I am going to put a link down in the description to the Fixed Perspective channel, as well as our Spotify if you prefer to listen to podcasts there. We post on both of those channels bi-weekly. We're 2 episodes in right now. It's going great. We would love it if anyone wants to come over. I just thought there might be some people still subscribed to me that would want to watch. So yeah, I just wanted to throw this out just in case there's anyone out there that still would like to watch my content, what I like to produce, and just didn't know that I was making more of it in a separate place. So if you like horror games, if you want to support me, if you want to support Kate, also known as the Sack, for any of you longtime viewers, you might be familiar with them. They're actually one of my mods. We talk all things horror games, specifically survival horror. We love survival horror, but we're going to branch out into more horror games. So just stop on by. It would mean a lot. Just check us out. The rest of this video is now just going to be our first episode. So if you want to see what our show is like, you can just keep watching here. And if you want to keep up with all of our content going forward, jump on over to the Fixed Perspective channel and follow us there. Thanks, guys. Means a lot. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the inaugural episode of Fixed Perspective, the show where we take a look at some of your favorite horror games and figure out, are they the true survival horror experience? Today, I'm joined by my co-hosts, Aiden and Caitlin. How you guys doing?
Locked in, bro.
Let's get this.
Oh, yes. So, as stated, this is the first episode of the show, and we'll run through just the organization on screen here. We've got, going from left to right, Aiden as Sybil Bennett. We have
What's up?
Caitlin as Harry Mason, and then myself as Lisa Garland. Just so you guys know the order and who's speaking. So, I guess before we get into this, you guys want to share your lore with Silent Hill? How deep does this run with you guys?
So, I played it for the first time, like, 2 months ago now? And that's about it. I really like it. It's cool.
I played it like last year-ish. I don't really remember. It's kind of like a haze in my mind, where I don't feel like it actually happened, but I know I played Silent Hill.
I guess you could say.
Supposedly you were very aggressive.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I had a little bit too much fun with the giant metal pipe.
Yeah,
Dude,
so
you could hit the dogs out of the air. They went flying.
your guys's was neither of your guys' first exposure to this series was the first game, correct?
No.
No, I played the second
Yeah,
game.
you both started with 2.
Yeah.
My experience, I played Silent Hill 2 maybe about 2 or 3 years ago, and then I played 1. I started it almost instantly after 2, but it took me a very long time to finish it. I think when I got to the sewer section, I couldn't take it for a bit. I think we've all had that experience.
I can understand that sewer made me go rabid.
Yeah, I figure we'll be talking about that in a bit. So we're all very, for the listeners, we're all very close, I'd say, to the Silent Hill series. Almost all of us have played the original trilogy with, well, both of you guys, I guess, about to finish the 3rd game.
Yeah, we're like near the end of the 3rd game, both of us are.
So we're all big fans, big thumbs up for Silent Hill. With our lore out of the way, I suppose we'll briefly touch on the development of Silent Hill 1. The development of Silent Hill 1 originally began all the way back in September of 1996. So, little short of a 3-year release window. Development
I
to
feel like
release.
that's a long time for how long the game is.
It was, and I can go into why that is. So, the game was developed, as most people know, by Team Silent, who were known as misfits in the work environment of Konami at the time. They all came from wildly different projects that either didn't work or they, as employees, kind of were seen as outcasts and didn't get along with others. So Konami had the idea to put all of these quote unquote misfit employees into one group and task them to make a game. And the point of the game was originally to be in response to Capcom's major release, Resident Evil, which was getting mass success at the time. So Konami wanted a team to create a game that rivaled Resident Evil. They wanted big action, Hollywood set pieces, insane, and the team just could not make the game. They could not make the Hollywood-style blockbuster that Konami wanted.
I think, really? I mean, Silent Hill 1, Blockbuster, pretty similar.
Got that
I
big
mean, had you
moth.
looked at the game? Yeah.
Mm. There's there's the moth.
I always forget about the moth.
It's because
Us too.
it shouldn't be there. It's the most pointless boss ever.
It's yeah.
It's just there to drain your resources a little bit.
That's okay. That's okay.
True.
So yeah, the game was originally tasked to be a big budget action game, which the team had no inspiration to make. So they went through multiple game concepts and prototypes, none of which worked. And at that point, Konami kept the team together and kept them working on a project, but there was no more supervision of what they were creating. They said they basically just gave them control to make whatever they wanted. And what took shape was Silent Hill 1. They
Maybe
cooked up
one of
this
the
freak.
ugliest games ever.
Oh, come on.
Come on.
It's
Hey,
like-
I'm not
For
saying
the time.
it's not a bad thing. The game is objectively ugly.
But that's what's endearing about it.
It is,
Yeah.
but it is.
And
I mean, you can't look at Harry Mason and say that guy looks good.
that's a normal guy.
Dude. He looks awesome.
He does. I mean,
Yeah.
that's why I'm him.
But to touch on the graphics of the game a little bit and its distinct visual style, one of the first things that was developed for the game was this lighting system they had, which basically allowed for a light source in the environment to cast real-time shadows using PlayStation 1 hardware. But of course, with the very limited hardware, it had to be a very small space that's actually producing the shadows, and that's what led, along with render distance issues, led to the fog of the town. So most of the lights you see in the environment are actually real time. They're just not rendering until you're very close to them. Just so
The
cool.
PlayStation can induce mind-boggling effects.
Wait, no. Wait, is that picture with the
Yeah,
skeleton?
the skeleton. Yep.
That picture's so funny. Speaking of the actual technicality of the game and how it was created, let's talk about the people who created the game really fast. The director of the game was Keiichiro Toyama, who was one of the first members selected to be on Team Silent. He's considered one of the main 4 members, although there's many more that contributed. And a fun fact about him is he went on later to create the Siren series. And then after Keiichiro Toyama, you have Masashi Tsuboyama, who is the background designer. He worked on most of the level environments as well as art for the game. You have the famous Masahiro Ito, who created all the creatures for Silent Hill 1, as well as the creatures going on forth for Silent Hill 2 and Silent Hill 3. You have Akira Yamaoka, who did the sound design and the soundtrack. Might be the GOAT.
The goat.
Voted.
Then there's Gozo Katao, who was the executive producer of the game. And then we had Akihiro Imamura, who was the lead programmer I believe he led a team of about 4 programmers.
Pretty small team.
Look it up real
Well, they
quick
had
so I
to
make
keep
sure
it
I
small
don't
so they had enough drugs for the whole team.
Yeah,
I
for what
mean,
they
yeah.
created.
How else you come up with that?
Yeah.
No sane person comes up with those sewers.
True,
Dude,
actually.
you know what always gets me is the nurses in the hospital that like moan at you.
Yeah,
They're
you
freaky.
were not a fan of them.
I was not.
You can
Those got to you way more than either
Yeah.
of us.
They did.
Yeah, I remember watching you play that. You hated those.
Yeah, I did.
I hated the fucking like pterodactyls outside.
Oh, the air screamers? Yeah.
Oh, those are
Yeah.
my favorite.
Cause like you can't do anything about them other than just gun them down real quick.
Okay, yes. There were 10 members of Team Silent for the first game.
Okay.
Damn.
As we'll
Respectable,
discuss later,
respectable.
they increased by about 500% for Silent Hill 2.
They locked in.
Yeah. So that's all I had on the development of the game. Now we can just talk about what's actually in the game. How do we feel about
I'm
this game?
Big fan of the protagonist, Harry Mason. I think he's
couldn't
he's
tell.
a wonderful little guy.
I think it's really good overall. I think maybe the combat is a little lacking, but
Yeah.
overall, I think it's really good.
This was I'm trying to remember because I don't remember how you played 2. Was this your first tank control game?
No,
did you
I
play
played
2
two
tank
with the
control?
tank controls.
Okay.
Yeah,
This is a rough game to like have to still get
it
used to.
was
though.
rough. Yeah.
How do you guys feel about visually?
Well, I mean, it's a PS1 game. So
It's pretty ugly, but the style is
I think
the
they
style's
did.
very distinct.
Yeah,
no
they
one
did
else
really
was
good
doing-
with what they had.
No one else was doing a shit ton of fog and not much else like they were.
True.
Yeah.
If you like with upscaled models that we have now, visually most of the models and animations are pretty good compared to
Mhm.
like Resident Evil, but of course that also came out 3 years before. Do you guys? I'll ask you this. It's just a odd question. The game kind of does away with the fog and just becomes darkness, like halfway through. What do you guys feel about that? Did you miss the fog?
Yeah, I like the fog better than the darkness.
I think the darkness is actually really cool and a little freaky, which is nice.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, the fog's obviously way more iconic. But, like, at the point
Yeah.
where it happens in the story, I think it makes sense because that's when it's going insano style. That's when you got that freaky
Mhm.
moth.
Yeah, that's true. Mhm.
Do we want to talk about bosses in our Silent Hill game?
I
Dude,
mean, it's
I-
a survival horror game. The bosses are not great.
Yeah, they're pretty just run and shoot.
I appreciate like for example I'm upset. The name's blanking me, but the monster in the basement of the school.
Yeah, that's
the children's
that one.
book monster. I think that's probably the only one I like because there's a puzzle to it where you have
Yeah, I
to
would
shoot
agree.
it when the mouth opens. But yeah, things like the moth, I don't really know if that was needed. Do you guys? I didn't have the same experience as you guys because I knew about the multiple endings in the game and how to get them. But do you guys want to talk about your experience with your final boss?
I don't. That fucking boss drove me
You're
insane.
just like
I
respective
went
Remo.
in with like no ammo and like no heals. I was just getting fucking tracked by lightning that I couldn't really do much about. Overall,
Yeah.
not a fun experience getting the bad ending.
I also got the bad ending, but I got the bad plus ending, so it wasn't as bad for me. I don't remember struggling too much with the boss.
I think you
think
went
it
in with
was-
like a lot more heals.
Yeah, I remember you.
'Cause I had
guys-
one.
You had a lot of heals, and then you also had a lot of rifle rounds.
Yeah, and I just like
You-
destroyed him.
Yeah, you made quick work. Well, I remember watching Kate play where it was, like you only had your pistol basically, and so you'd like
Yeah.
dodge some of the lightning strikes and then save state if you didn't get hit, and then you keep proceeding like that. And if you got hit, you'd reset the save state.
I don't even feel bad about doing that. It was driving me mad.
No, that boss is awful. I mean, that's all bosses in the game are basically like that, but that's the only one where it's a point of no return boss without warning. It's like you cannot.
It's
go
also
back
the only
once
one
you
where
choose.
lightning rains down from the
Yeah.
sky on you.
Yeah, I think it is the only boss that has that much RNG in it. So
Yeah.
unfortunate final boss design, and I don't care for it either. But Satan's cool. You guys don't have
Yeah.
much knowledge of Satan, but he's cool. Cool final boss.
I mean, I watched like the ending.
I guess if we bring up endings, what do you guys think of the story?
I think it's pretty good. It's very interesting for like it's really unique, I guess is the right word.
I really like that Silent Hill 1 feels very like contained.
Yeah.
You can play Silent Hill 1 and pretend that the series ended there, and that's like a full story pretty much.
Yeah.
While there's still like questions that you can think about, so it keeps you wanting more.
I'm a little more partial to the story from 1 and what's continued in 3 of the story of the cult. And
Mm-hmm.
not like I'm not dogging on Silent Hill 2. We'll cover in another episode, and I know how we all feel about Silent Hill 2. But I definitely like it's just hell being brought to reality instead of
Yeah.
the manifestations of anybody who kind of moseys into the town.
It feels, I mean, it's still hell being brought to Earth, but it feels more grounded than Silent Hill 2, I guess.
Yeah.
'Cause it's like less reality warpy to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Whenever you go to the other world for the first time,
True, that is
Whenever they
a.
bust out the chains.
you just like go through the door and all of a sudden everything's bloody and caged.
One thing I want to ask you two about piano puzzle. There are thoughts on it existing.
I really like it, all things considered.
It's a really good puzzle, but the first time I did it, I was so pissed. Because I had the order right the whole time. I just didn't know that you had to play on the broken keys.
No, that was the same issue I had too. Is I had the right order, but I was playing them on the keys that worked. So, but I do think it makes sense for like the name of it is Tale of Birds Without a Voice. It's leading you in the right direction. So I don't think it's unfair necessarily.
It's not unfair at all, but it's like
It's
it
insane.
hits you, and you're just like, I'm so stupid.
Works.
Also, you need to interact with everything that doesn't
every
look like the
surface.
wall.
Yeah, I do
Yeah.
really love the school though. I think that's one
think
of,
that's
if
the
not my
best
favorite
area.
areas. Yeah, in all of
Yeah.
the Silent Hill games.
Oh, and all of them. Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because like I'm, at least so far that I've seen.
Yeah, I think I actually might get behind that. Because like one specifically. Let me get a list just so I don't leave anything out.
Yeah, I was looking at a list too. Because there's the school, and there's the hospital, and there's the resort, and the sewer, and then
And then the nightmare versions of each one.
yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I'd definitely say in 1, I think. Oh, actually, I don't know. No, never mind. I think it's a very close second. Because I think Nowhere is just so awesome.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah,
Nowhere's
Nowhere
such a
is
good
really
finale
good.
area. That still sticks with me, just like how my brain shattered when you go through that one door and you're in the school all of a sudden in
Oh
Nowhere.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like crazy.
Oh yeah, Nowhere is really good. I had like I remembered that it existed, but I had forgotten like details about it. But yeah, Nowhere is really really cool.
It's got that nice puzzle with the animal legs.
Yeah.
I think comparing to 2 and 3, I'd say it's easily the best starting location. If you're comparing
For
it to
sure.
the school, the Woodside Apartments, and the shopping mall. I think
Yeah,
The
that's
mall
actually
was.
something. You
I didn't like
hate
the
that
mall.
mall.
I don't like it there.
The mall's not my favorite.
Yeah. Too big. It's way too big.
Yeah, I like how simple the school is. Like, like every room is distinct besides like the classrooms, but those aren't even like important. They're just
Yeah.
little side areas.
There's like a means to get to the next. And that just speaks to how well the design is of the puzzle rooms, where you can go in them and you're like, I need to do something in here.
Yeah, they're very notable.
I think Silent Hill 1 is just overall a very like simple game. And that's
Yeah.
probably due to like the restrictions of the PlayStation 1, but I think it worked in its favor a lot.
For sure.
I think so.
I mean, Silent Hill, like as a series, but especially this one, just lives on like less is more. One interesting thing, since you guys have both played 2, we can compare. How do you like old Silent Hill, which is the town in 1 compared to Silent Hill in 2?
From what I remember, I feel like the town was more straightforward in the first game, which I really liked. I don't like running around the town not knowing what like my next destination is, or like how to get there, I guess.
You don't like
In
having-
Silent Hill 1, I got really annoyed at the giant chunks of the streets that got taken away.
Where did they go? That is true. Actually, I was about to talk about how Aiden, how you hated in Silent Hill 2. I think it's once you get out of the nightmare hospital where it becomes pitch black and like there are the giant barricades everywhere.
Oh my god.
But Silent
Yeah.
Hill 1 kind of just does that from the start, basically.
Yeah, I feel like introducing it at the beginning is like a good way to do it because you're like, this is how the world is. It's
Yeah,
not
you're-
gonna be different. Like,
You're mentally prepared to deal with it.
yeah.
It's. No, I also, just to the town's credit, I like how much time you get to spend in it. Because
True.
it feels like in each sequel, you're in the town less and less, especially
Yeah.
3.
Yeah, in Silent Hill 3, you like don't even go there.
You graze the town and then it's over. And then I guess next location that would take us to the hospital, the normal version at least.
I liked the hospital. I thought it was better than Silent Hill 2's hospital.
Hot
Yeah,
take.
I think I kind of agree.
I don't know if I would. I don't remember Silent Hill 1's hospital enough.
I remember it being that was like whenever I started to really get into it, and I was like, okay, I'm working with the game, like it's not working against me. I
Yeah.
felt like I was in the rhythm.
Although Silent Hill 1 has freaky elevator.
Oh my god, that fucking elevator. Why? Where does the 4 come from?
I didn't struggle with that. I saw the 4 and I was like, that's weird. I'm gonna go there, and
Yeah,
then I
you-
was there.
You hit the dev intended route of seeing 4 and going like, let me try 4.
Yeah.
Well, Kate saw 4 and was like, I'm freaked out. I'm not going to 4.
Why would you not go to 4 when you see it? Like it's like
Oh.
calling your name, man.
But like, I don't know. I was like, I should check every other floor first,
I get that.
and then I couldn't figure out how to get the 4 to come back.
It just left to you. That's one of, I think that's probably Silent Hill 1's biggest offender of like, this puzzle was unreasonable. Makes sense. Because it just happens.
Yeah.
There's something that we didn't mention between the school and the hospital.
Are you gonna mention meeting Dahlia Gillespie? Is that it?
That's what I was going
Oh.
with.
I knew
boy.
you wanted to talk about Dahlia Gillespie. What are your thoughts?
I can't stand her. I can't stand her.
I don't like her. Yeah, she's really obnoxious.
She just spits nonsense at you and is like, take my prism and
I've been
go.
waiting for
Yeah,
you.
she doesn't make any
It was
sense.
foretold by gyromancy.
What is gyromancy?
She's the best. And you don't like that she gives you the pyramid?
No.
Is
I
that
didn't
his
get
head?
it.
Is that where he
I did
was he
not get
born
it.
from it?
What is it even called? Like the florist?
Yeah, the Floros.
Thank
Yeah.
God that Silent Hill 1 doesn't have limited inventory space. Where that would just be taking up like probably 4
Gotta
slots.
Carry the Floros the whole game. How do we
Yeah, I
feel
have.
about Silent Hill was a competitor to Resident Evil, but it drops one of the big Resident Evil tropes of not having a limited inventory. You guys like
I
that?
like it better. Yes, I like not having to worry about my resources and just focusing on what's in front of me. But I know that is a thing that a lot of people value.
You're like, I know that's what a lot of freaks like. Worrying.
Well, if we're calling them freaks, then I'm one of them.
That's what
Sign
Caleb
me
likes,
up.
yeah.
I love the limited like inventory and having to manage it in Resident Evil games. But it doesn't really bother me that Silent Hill doesn't have it, because I think it would be a nightmare.
Yeah, I think Silent
Because-
Hill's the type of game where you don't need it. It's just like a
There's too many things you have to hold on to for too long.
yeah.
Because in Resident Evil, you get an item, and you use it
Drop
in
it
a
off.
room that's like 3 rooms
Or
later.
use it, yeah. Yeah, I mean, Silent Hill is just clearly not built for it. I'm sure if they did use it, they would have had item boxes, but that just feels like it wouldn't fit. I don't know. That seems like the
No.
tone. It just wouldn't be right. It's great.
I mean, I'd play a whole game of just organizing the
if
inventory.
if my game was managing my resources arbitrarily, I'd play. So next up
Yeah.
would be the sewers. Who wants to go first?
Yeah.
The little
the
goblin
sewers.
men.
Don't like the sewers.
Yeah.
Everything
they
in
are
there
not
looks the
fun.
same.
Yeah, it's
So
really.
So it's hard to tell
confusing.
where you are in the map. The map of that area is like the worst one in the game.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
map
it
is.
is.
I'll throw up an image of the map for any audio or visual watchers, but that's a rough map compared to the hospital and the school. And it's interesting though because it is like the shortest area, like major area in the game.
I think I spent longer in there than like the hospital.
Yeah, it took me a long time of running in circles and trying to find something
Like
like
it's
to
got those
progress.
big freaky frogs.
There's like the key
Yeah, there's
that in
the
like the
sewer
little
exit
like
key in the
Mhm,
corner.
Yeah.
it doesn't look interactable.
No, it's very hard to see.
I guess I'm looking at a picture of it right now. The only reason it's not a reason you'd want to go there is it's literally surrounded by 3 they're called scratchers for the enemies that were in the sewer. It's like, why
The
would you want to
goblins.
go there if the goblins are sitting there? Like, I'm leaving.
They're like the weirdest enemy in the game to me.
Yeah,
they don't
they're
fit.
weird.
Yeah. They're
They feel like they're from like a scrapped other project.
yeah. Which I mean, given this game,
Because like everything else in the game, everything else in the game has like a similar vibe, but they're just like dungeon goblins.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
they're not,
really
like-
don't feel like they're from Silent Hill.
Yeah, they're not flesh demons. Or
I could never
anything.
imagine them appearing in the second game.
Oh my god! If James had to face off against the sewer goblins, that'd maybe be
That'd be
the worst
rougher.
if they threw those guys in the underground labyrinth.
Oh my gosh.
I think.
Dude, don't get me started on the underground labyrinth.
that's a whole nother episode for you.
So much worse than the sewers.
That was
I
your-
will not handle it. That was my
sewers,
nightmare.
easily the lowest point in the game. I think it's right in the middle, and it's right before a big plot revelation. So it's kind of when you're like really wanting something to happen.
Yeah, I mean, the sewers was definitely the worst point in the game for me, but I wouldn't say it's as low as other low points in the series.
Yeah, it's not that labyrinth for you.
No.
I think it still says a lot that like the worst area in this game, like I'd say it's just like kind of annoying at most.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it
Sometimes they just
worsens
drop
it.
too many goblins on you at once, and you get
Yeah.
Yeah. So then following up the sewers, you've got the second main area of Silent Hill, the resort, which it's a lot smaller, which I think's fine because by this point you've explored so much of the other town. And
Yeah, I
then-
don't think that it needed to be big since the rest of the areas were pretty big.
I mean, it's almost like exclusively side content, if you want to
Yeah.
get the good ending. I remember watching
Mhm.
both of you play. Yeah, you guys like speed ran through, which I don't
Yeah,
think
I
it's
did,
a fault of
for
your
sure.
guys' own. It's because the story, like that's when the boat conversation with Sybil happens, and like you're getting rushed around from place to place with like high
Yeah.
stakes. Do you really want to mosey over to Annie's bar to get the Kaufman key to get the good ending? Like,
Yeah.
come on, not
Yeah,
really.
personally, I think the resort is the least memorable area for me in this game. Which
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't. It means it's not sticking out as negative, which I mean is a good thing.
Yeah, it's a
but
good thing. It's just it's inoffensive. It's just
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just kind of there.
you get around everywhere there, and
Yeah.
that's when the famous Sybil boss fight takes place. I know we didn't mention this one earlier when talking about bosses. What do you guys think about this boss?
Um,
It's okay. It wasn't great.
I didn't do like
Yeah,
the.
you killed her.
I killed her, so it was a lot harder for me
Yeah.
because I actually had to dump all my resources into her.
I remember watching you. You started shooting like 3 hunting rifle shots. And I was like, hey, test out that liquid, by the way. I couldn't
I was
bear
like,
to see you
okay, I'm
dump
ready
all
to
your
kill you.
resources.
All right.
Honestly, that's probably why I was out of
Yeah,
resources.
I was
for
about
the
to say,
final
I
boss.
think that is why Aiden had enough to take down the final boss and you didn't. Because
Yeah,
Aiden just
probably.
had, like, I mean, that saves you like at least 10 rifle shells. Our final major area in the game, my favorite, Nowhere.
Nowhere is really good.
Just glues everybody at like every location in the game together.
Yeah, it really is like the perfect culmination of like everything.
It's like instead of a boss rush, it's an area rush.
Yeah,
That's
it's like a
so
perfect.
cool.
It's like a
Yeah.
perfect climax for the game.
It doesn't include anything from the sewers.
That's why it's peak.
Yay!
That's why it's peak.
Maybe they realized.
And I'd argue Nowhere probably has like the definitive scene of Silent Hill 1. I'd argue this game's moment is Lisa's death.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I would have to agree.
So sad.
That like is ingrained into your brain after you play it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's probably the only point in Silent Hill 1 that like tries to be really emotional.
It does a pretty good
Yeah.
job.
Yeah, I
I
think
think it
it's
definitely
solid.
does. Especially for like being the first of the series, they didn't really had any. They haven't had anything to build off of yet, so I think they did a really good job of just like throwing it out there.
Yeah. Another big moment of the Nowhere I want to discuss is the fridge in the towards the
Ah.
end. I think both of you fell victim to that fridge, if memory serves.
I don't think
Oh
I did.
yeah, is that the fridge that just like
That eats
kills
you.
you if
Yeah.
you don't have the yeah.
I think I might have, but I saved right before, or I just
Yeah,
didn't fall for it.
I fell for it, but I saved right before.
I
That's
think
what
I think there is a save slot like right outside of the room where it happens. So you're highly
Yeah,
encouraged to pop a save.
And then I did the same thing in Silent Hill 3 with the water room.
Okay, that Silent Hill 3 was a lot less forgiving with that. They just like randomly kill you in that game if you don't like.
Silent Hill 3 has a lot more way more moments where it's
Yeah.
oh, you got on the train tracks a little
Oh my
a little before
God.
you're supposed to access this area, die.
Yeah. It's a lot less like forgiving in that sense. So I think it's okay that they had that in this game because it wasn't like it's not meant to make you lose progress. It's meant to just be more like a shock moment.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that covers all our areas. I think before we just ramble about any miscellaneous things, we can talk about some of the enemies real quick.
I hate the nurses from the hospital.
Yeah,
I hate them.
we can head down to the puppet nurses first. That are
I
in
hate
Nightmare
them.
Hospital and Nowhere.
Yeah, and then they brought them back in nowhere, and I was like, okay,
Yeah,
you could have just left them.
you almost lost it.
Yeah, the Great Children, they were less threatening and more like
Funny.
confusing. You were like,
They just run around
yeah.
your feet.
Yeah, I was just like, why are they here? Like they
And
kind of
make those
added to
little
the
squeaks.
atmosphere. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It really gives you the feeling of like being in a school.
Oh, this just popped into my head since we were talking about the school. I just wanted to gush about it. I love the locker jump scare with the cat.
Oh, that one's really good.
Oh yeah.
So crazy how that payoff is saved for like an hour later in gameplay when you're in the nightmare version. It's,
And then they put it in Dead by Daylight.
and then it's in Dead by Daylight. I was just about to say one thing I find interesting. I'm on the wiki right now for the enemies. I'm looking at the Groaner, which is the dog. And for suggested weapon to take it on with, it says handgun. And they just must not know the strategy.
Yeah, I guess they just don't.
They don't know
They
what
don't-
you can do with that pipe.
They don't know the method.
I didn't either. I never learned it. I just ran by them.
Yeah, I remember.
That worked, but
I-
you know, Melee doesn't waste any resources, so I did it for fun.
I remember watching you, Aiden, try to get the timing right. And you tried it like 3 times. You're like, I've had enough. I'm out of
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, and then I would either just pull out the gun and then like just blast them, or I would run away.
I had that shit on lock from the start. I don't know what I was on. I saw those little dudes jump at me and I saw red, I guess.
There's the only other notable enemy, which I'm only calling it notable because I think it's so unnotable, is the Creeper, which was the roaches.
Oh
I
my-
really
Oh.
hate these guys in 1. I think they're better in 2.
Yeah.
But in 1, they're very frustrating.
It's just
Yeah,
like
they're-
chip damage.
Yeah, and they're so hard to hit with a melee weapon. Like it's almost impossible. It
Yeah,
feels
because
like.
in 2, if I'm not I might be mistaken, but I think in 2, without even like knocking them into their pain state, you can squash them.
Yeah, you can
I
just step
think
on 'em.
so. Yeah.
But in 1, I don't believe you can. It's you have to either shoot them or
No.
hit them, and they're so hard to hit.
Mm-hmm.
Hate those guys, and they're in almost every area in the game.
Yeah. They're
And
really
you always
guys
forget
everywhere.
that they exist, so they get you.
Yeah, they find you each time off guard. Those are most notable enemies, I think. I'll just open the discussion up to you guys. Is there anything we haven't talked about yet regarding the game that you like?
We haven't really talked about the music.
True, we haven't.
Oh yeah, the music is really good.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because it's the only. I guess 3 kind of picks it back up, but it's the only Silent Hill game to have the really metallic industrial theme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything
I think
after is
that's
much
one of the
softer.
cooler. Like, it's a cooler vibe that fits more with like the otherworldly aesthetic of like Nowhere and stuff like that.
I do think this is the only game where that worked. Because, like, Silent Hill 2, far more
It's not, like-
dreamlike,
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
very light, and then 3's kind of just more like indie rock for most of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least the big themes, and then there's a lot of just like, it's almost just noise. I describe 3. It's kind of just like listening to sounds. It's very like static, white
Yeah,
noise
I-
feeling.
3 is freaky.
Definitely scary.
That one gets like under my skin the most.
Yeah, I know it's so hard because the soundtrack's not on Spotify, so it's
Mhm.
difficult to reference songs but tracks by name. But do you guys have a favorite song from Silent Hill 1?
Um,
Or any just tunes
this is
that
the one
stick
that I'm the
out?
least familiar with. So
I just don't remember names.
There's
Yeah.
only one that I remember, and I'll put it in the edit now. It's called Not Tomorrow, and that's the theme that plays during Lisa's death. I
Oh,
think that's the most
Mm.
impactful song to me.
yeah, that's a good one.
Other than that, just good music.
Good
There's
music, yeah.
very little tracks. Good music all around. We'll go ahead and move on, and we'll talk about the reception of the game upon release. it was widely successful for the video game market back then. It would go on to sell over 2 million copies in its original run, which then netted it a PlayStation Greatest Hits release. Big ups. I mean,
Yeah.
for just like
that's-
the first of a series, insane.
Mhm.
It
Yeah,
was
that's crazy.
super popular in the East, and it was relatively popular in the West. It was very popular in the East due to there was a big occult boom in Japan at the time, which really led. I mean, that obviously the game took massive inspiration from the occult and things like that.
I mean, yeah, it's
Yeah.
all
It's all about it.
yeah.
Yeah, that's like the whole plot.
Yeah, so sold super well there, sold pretty good here. All around a massive success of a game, which immediately greenlit a sequel with a budget that was immensely higher than the original's
What was the
You
original's
see.
budget, like $12?
budget.
Yeah, did they have a
Let
budget?
me actually see if I can find that. Okay, yeah, here we go. It's estimated the budget for Silent Hill 1 was about $3 to $5 million, which Silent Hill
Wow.
2, which would release 2 years later, has an estimated budget of 7 to 10 mil. At the time, I mean, for such a low budget game, I mean, it's just so good.
Definitely.
Yeah, it really
It's-
is.
It's
I'm not gonna lie, Silent Hill 1 is my favorite in the series. Putting 2 at the bottom feels like I'm doing something wrong.
you're just speaking out against the Silent Hill 2 overhypers.
Mhm.
I mean, we'll talk about it when we do an episode on 2, but I do agree. I think it's massively overhyped.
It's massively
It's-
overhyped, but it still deserves what it has.
It's an interesting thing because I actually don't know if I'd say Silent Hill 2's overhyped. I think it's just overshadowed in the minds of fans. It overshadows the other games, which isn't deserved.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that the first game it really is underrated in terms of the series.
For sure.
It's the one people definitely play the least. Because it's the least accessible in terms of controls and all that. And then obviously we're not taking into account modern secondhand markets, but like Silent Hill 1, I mean, I'm currently fighting in my brain over the time I missed a copy of Silent Hill 1 for 200 bones. Like, this game's, it's not worth, it's hard to get a hand on unless you're just emulating. And even if you're emulating, if you're not used to these style of games, it's archaic.
I heart emulation.
We support emulation here. I like buying my own. I like owning my games, but like I will
Because
never.
you're like a freak.
I'm a freak, yeah, but like never catch me getting Haunting Ground for $400. Yeah,
Not
so-
yet.
Not if I win the lottery, there's gonna be signs, but until then, no. So that was the reception upon release, and the current reception. Obviously, I can't take a massive pull, but I think this game, I mean, Silent Hill as a series is very fondly looked upon, and mainly only the first 3 games are given the like gold star, and nobody really faults you for enjoying it. With pretty much
Yeah.
everything else in the series, it's kind of a slippery slope, you could say.
You could call it that.
You could say that, yeah.
Slippery slope that leads to Jonathan Davis from Korn.
Yeah. It definitely took a turn.
I mean, I think it's still, I mean, it's still incredibly talked about. Is ignoring the almost 10-year Silent Hill drought that we experienced, not considering PT, which, God bless.
R.I.P.
Yeah, shed a tear tonight for that one. Silent Hill is still super relevant as a series now, and I think
The influence is seen in all modern
course.
survival horror games.
yeah, that's a whole nother talk. That's a good point. The first game that I think of, if I think of like what survival horrors are influenced by Silent Hill, I point to Signalis. Probably is my
Signalis
first
is
thought.
just space Silent Hill with
With
lesbians.
lesbians, yes. True. I mean, I don't think there's any arguing that the current reception of this game is incredibly positive.
For sure.
Great game. And with that, that's going to lead us into the final segment of our show. It is time for the titular survival horror test, where we have devised a rubric of 10 questions that will help us decide if this game is a true survival horror experience. So we're going to go through these questions one by one, and since there's 3 of us, we can basically majority rules each one and see if we agree on each topic. So we'll just get us started here. Question number 1, the fixed perspective test. Does this game use fixed camera angles? If not, traditional ones, does the game restrict your vision in one way or another? What are our thoughts?
I mean, vision's definitely restricted with the fog.
Yeah, it definitely has fixed camera angles. So
A lot of them are really cool. Like at the start of the game when you walk into like the alley and it's just
With
like
the
the top
wheelchair?
shot.
Oh yeah, that shot's crazy.
yeah, I think they really add to the like atmosphere.
For sure.
Okay.
Sorry,
Pretty unanimous.
I was
Yeah.
wrangling my dog there a little bit. Yeah, I'd say this is a unanimous. So 1 out of 1 so far. Or this one, let's see if we can keep this going. This one will be interesting. This one is open for debate. The Hoarder Test. Does the game task you with managing multiple resources? Will you make it through the game killing every enemy? Or is there a limited inventory? What are our initial thoughts here?
Well, I played the game. I pretty much did kill every enemy, and I still made it through pretty fine. There was no like huge struggles in terms of like enemies or boss fights or anything like that.
Yeah.
I think melee being an actual viable option for everything except bosses really cuts down on how much you're going to struggle with resources.
Yeah, for sure.
True.
Because
Yeah,
most
it's-
normal enemies you can just take out with a couple swings.
hmm
It is interesting where I don't know. I mean, all the Silent Hill games, I'd say this goes for most of the Silent Hill games. I don't really know if I could say the games do really promote like managing a ton of resources. Like health is a much better example where like you definitely have to worry about your health.
Oh, yeah.
And there's not nearly as much healing items as there is ammunition. And like you said, having melee like functional, like that changes the game. Like if in
Yeah.
any of the original Resident Evils, if melee was viable, like you would never run out of handgun ammo.
If a knife only run was like easy in RE1, you would speed through the game.
Yeah. I don't know. What are you guys thinking on this test?
I
I'm
think
thinking-
just the fact that it's so easy to just hoard ammo and that there's no limited inventory, I'm thinking it doesn't pass.
I don't think it
Yeah.
passes either.
I was gonna say I didn't want to say it because it hurts to not give full points, but gonna have to fail this test. So that's 1 for 2.
Damn.
Going on to test number 3, the save state test. Does this game have limited saves? Does the save system complement the game's design? And is there autosave? So,
Well, there's no limited saves.
Yeah.
But the placement of having to use the save stations and how limited they are, I think definitely does add to the game.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I think it does add a lot to the game.
yeah.
Also, I don't think there's anywhere in the game that like auto saves.
No. Silent. I'm fairly confident Silent Hill 1. I mean, I don't think any of the Silent Hill games have an autosave feature.
Yeah.
If they do have an autosave, it's at a very specific like moment.
It's very well hidden.
I don't-
know.
No, for sure.
I mean, yeah, it's not limited, and while I think limited saves are very good, I don't know if this game would have even benefited from it because it is just so different in how you play.
Yeah.
It's
And
think-
like with stuff like the fridge,
oh yeah,
having limited saves and stuff like that would be kind of annoying.
I agree with that. I think it passes the test. Even though it's not limited, I think just the design and the intention behind the saves are good enough to pass it.
For sure. I agree.
I agree.
Alright, that's all three agreeing then. That's going to give us 2 out of 3. Looking good. Oh, I think this one's going to be an easy dunk, we'll see. The atmosphere test. Is the game disturbing? Are you anxious while playing the game? Does it
I'd
freak
say
you out?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd say it does, but it being so old and the technical limitations do kind of hold it back a little here.
Yeah.
Even still,
But
it is like,
even with
very
it-
disturbing.
Oh yeah, just like the sound design especially gets me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. For this test, I almost want to just like try to put myself in the position of someone in 1999 playing this.
I would
Yeah.
be terrified.
Like,
That's like
yeah.
witchcraft.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like it would definitely be very frightening, and even now, like there are moments in the game I think where it is unnerving. I think 2 and 3 get much closer to being actually like uncomfortable to play.
Yeah.
I think this
Especially
game still gets close enough, especially
For
given
sure.
its age.
And it just has a great atmosphere.
Love the fog. Can't be stated enough.
Fog Bros.
Yeah, we're fog bros. Okay, yeah, that will be that then. That's going to be 3 out of 4 on our quiz. Our test here. Silent Hill's looking pretty good. Let's see if it can keep it up. Our next test, the puzzle box test. Does the game take place in a looping level environment? Will you be backtracking with new items to open old areas? So, essentially, is this game not Outlast? That's how I read this. I've got beef, which I'd say a resounding yes. The game is
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
always designed as a
You have
puzzle
to run
box.
through the town a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like
Right.
even in the areas that you are in, like you find that there's a door that's locked, and then you go get a key in a different area and come back, and then you can unlock it.
For sure.
This pretty cut and dry for a game like this. There will definitely be more to discuss when we're talking about some little more distant horror games that aren't Silent Hill, because most Silent Hills clear that one pretty easily. Here we go. Now this will be interesting. We are 5 out of 6 going into, or 4 out of 5, my apologies. We're going into question 6. The sunk cost test. Is the game properly paced? Does the game sprinkle enough story/surprises to keep you playing until the very end? What do you guys think here?
I think easily. It's not a very long game, and stuff like the reveal that your daughter is half of like whatever. I can't even remember.
Yes.
It's complicated.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. I think it's really well paced. I don't think it doesn't drag on too long, but it's also not cut short either. I think they do a really good job of keeping you engaged and like not going too long where there's nothing going on.
Yeah. I mean, after each area, it's usually given there's like a major story cutscene. Even if it's Dahlia usually just going like, oh, go to my hospital again.
I'm old and evil.
Yeah, the only part where I'd say comes even close to failing this would be the sewers. But I think the sewers are so short, it would not bring the entire experience down to being.
If you
Poorly
aren't
paced.
stupid like us and pick up the key the first time, it's not that bad.
Yeah. That sounds like an easy pass. We're 5
For
out
sure.
of 6. We are, by our rubric, we are just 1 point away from passing and declaring this a certified survival horror experience. Well, let's see if we'll get there.
Banger.
Certified banger incoming. Question number 7. The time to play test. How long is the game? Considering the game's launch price, is there a worthwhile price to length ratio? And as for this game's original launch price, Silent Hill released for $30, which in today's currency would now be $56.24. So basically your standard price of a video game. What do you guys
Yeah,
think about the
I
cost to game time ratio?
I think it's definitely worth the money that you'd pay for it.
Definitely,
Especially
especially at
back
the
then,
time.
yeah, there were a lot of like games were still $60, so for this will only be 30 is a big plus.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's a. Looking at the length, in fact, let me get the average time here so I'm not mistaken.
Probably like 6-ish hours, 8-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's usually about 7 hours written here for like just playing the game, and then about 14 for 100% completion. So, like, it's a short game, but the thing is, especially if you're new to survival horror games, like so many survival horror games, your playtime is maybe like 30 to 40% you died and you've got to backtrack a bit and do some stuff. Especially if it's a game with limited saves. Like, you lose some time.
You don't
Yeah.
really lose much in Silent Hill.
Yeah. I can't think, like, comparing easily, like, easy comparison for us would be Resident Evil 1. I've had many times when I was playing the OG RE1 where I died and it's like, I just lost 45 minutes of progress. Time to
I'm
do
closing
it
the
all
game.
again. Yeah, that's real. But yeah, I mean, I think this is another easy. It's a good length for the price. Like, if I could get this game for $60, like that's a steal.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
So yeah, that sounds like a resounding yes. So Silent Hill has officially passed our test as a true survival horror experience. I don't think any of us doubted it would.
I mean, it's one of the defining games of the genre.
Yeah, it's basically the founder, right up there with like Alone in the Dark, Resident Evil. It
Yeah.
pretty much invented the genre. I'd say like all tropes that are in survival horror games now come from Resident Evil or Silent Hill. It's always
Pretty much. Yeah.
every mechanic from those games, just kind of mixed. Oh yeah, definitely deserves the status, but let's see how high it can go. Number 8, the creepy crawly test. Do the monsters designed in this game go hard? Do they have any lore significance? Time to go
I'd
back
say
to
the
monsters.
monster designs are great in this game.
I
The
think
only standouts that are like, what are you doing here? Are like the little goblins in the sewer.
dwellers, yeah.
Cause I don't know, them just being like bright green is so weird.
Yeah.
I think it's really hit or miss.
They feel.
I think some of them are really good, and then some of them are just like kind of annoying, and like they don't really need to be
Yeah.
there.
Like, I agree. I think pretty much if a weird test for these monster designs actually is if it's like a blue green, it's no good. Like, you've got the guys with the knives, and then the evolved version of them that are just at the end of the game, and then the scratchers. Like, they don't feel like they belong in the game. They feel like they'd be more in Resident Evil than.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I almost wonder if they're not hard enough. Like, I do wonder if they're designed to be like the. I'm completely blanking on their names. So,
I know exactly what you're talking about, and I'm also blanking on the name.
hold on. Let me figure out their name real quick.
Okay, but I feel like Silent Hill, it didn't really get into like the vibe of the designs until the second game.
True.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I think they just kind of came up with the enemies and were like, sure.
Because I think in one they have a lot less thematic significance, and they're more just like things to get in your way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I think they're called hunters.
You're right. That's hunters.
Yeah. Like, I just feel like those guys were
They do
almost
remind me of
designed
hunters a lot.
to be like hunters. Kind of the way they look.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's obviously lore significance to most of the enemies, especially the bosses, other than
Oh yeah,
the moth.
the
Like,
moth is just there for funsies.
most of them fit the vibe of like charred corpses and melted
Yeah.
flesh. Except
Yeah,
for the green guys.
They're just
I-
little sludge monsters in the sewer or something.
I think overall it's probably a yes.
Yeah.
I think yeah,
I'm
even with
kinda
all
on
we talked about, I still like the designs a lot.
I like the air screamers and the dogs enough to like pretty much immediately give it a pass.
Yeah, I think they.
And a lot of
do
the
fit.
bosses look cool.
Yeah, like the one that takes place in the where you get the hunting rifle. I'm blanking on its name, like the worm
Yeah, that one.
before it turns into the moth. Like, I really like that boss. And the moth is kind of odd, but you know,
And Satan's cool.
Satan's cool. Incubator, love him. And so, okay, that's gonna put it as 7 out of 8. We've got 2 more tests to go. Number 9, the time test. Has the game aged well? Do the controls/visuals hold the game back? And is the public opinion on the game still positive? I mean, this is pretty.
We've kind of already covered this.
Yeah, I mean, this is just free.
Slam dunk here. This game's held up surprisingly well for how limited it is.
Yeah.
I'd like to further ask. I brought it up earlier, but this is a good time for it. Aiden, how hard was this game's tank controls? How hard was it for you to grasp them? Because they're a lot funkier than 2s. They're kind of slow.
Yeah, it was a little rough at first, but I think the biggest enemy is just spiral stairs.
True.
True, yeah.
The insistence of using spiral stairs in a game with tank controls will never cease to amaze me.
But like other than that, I think it's definitely manageable. It doesn't ruin the experience for me.
Yep, I'd have to agree. I mean, it's a cult classic. I think most people that like horror games, and especially this niche, like everyone loves Silent Hill. I don't think it's a question of if. It's looked back on positively, so that's going to give it an 8 out of 9.
I mean, there's a reason people want the franchise to keep going.
There's a reason we got Silent Hill 2 remake coming out. There's a purpose.
Yep.
We love you, Bluebear.
We'll go on to our final one, and I know the answer from most of us. Question number 10, the vinyl test. Is the game's soundtrack worth buying on a vinyl record? This is hard. What's like an average? What would you guys say an average vinyl price is? Usually, most of the ones
Average vinyl price like
50-ish,
40.
Yeah,
40-ish.
40-ish probably.
Would you guys be willing to buy the Silent Hill?
I would buy it.
I would easily buy it.
Yeah,
I think it's a yes.
like it's definitely the least memorable one. It would be my last choice out of all the Silent Hill vinyls. But I mean, who wouldn't still want to own it? Not even for just vanity purposes, but actual audio listening. Like, I can get some work done while listening to the nightmare sounds.
True.
Okay, so it sounds like all of us are in agreement that it passes the vinyl test, and that's going to be giving Silent Hill a 9 out of 10 score on our completely flawless scale. Completely deserved. I mean, I'm not going to say we made a perfect test, but I think that's very indicative of the game's actual rating.
No, I'm going to say we made a perfect test.
Yeah.
I'll be humble. You can speak it how it is. I think we just lucked out here.
True.
Yeah. So, you've heard it here first, folks. Silent Hill 1 is officially a real survival horror game. I didn't know if it was going to make it. I
was really on the edge of my seat.
I didn't know if this game was going to be a true survival horror game. Yeah, I mean, it's had to do a first episode that was just a banger game. Didn't want to come out with something that was more in the middle. Like, would have been freaky if we did Outlast for our first game. Would have been.
I don't think any of us would have been happy.
No,
But
I
I
don't
think we
so.
would have all been disturbed, and not in the way we want to be disturbed right now. But yeah, I mean that's gonna be
Yep.
it for us, everybody. Thank you all for making it to the end of the show. If you're still here, be sure to drop a like, subscribe, comment, let us know what you liked and didn't like about the show. It would mean so much to us. Right now, there's no consistent schedule of when this will be released because for most of us, we've got to play some of the games that we're going to be talking.
Pretty much.
If you really like the show, just give us any support. It means so much. Stick along for the ride. There will be more of these episodes to come. In the description, I will be posting the games list that we have typed up and are planning on doing. So if there are any games you see you're a big fan of, let us know. And who knows, we might decide to prioritize that game next. But yeah, that's all I've got to say. Thank you guys for watching. Do you all have any messages you want to give before we sign out?
Thanks for watching the first episode of Fixed Perspective.
That's a good soundbite right there. I might clip that. That's going to go at the end of every episode. That's a professional outro. Anything from you, Aiden?
I don't think this podcast is very professional.
No, it's professional, man.
I think we're utmost professional. Yeah. What's going on here?
Yeah, come on.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's where we'll leave it off. I'll let you sign out, Aiden.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, just thanks for watching and see you in the next episode.